Welcome, Melody.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Melody is going to be one of 53 authors that will be at the Festival of Books and Creativity on June 29th and at the 12 Mile Crossing at Fountain Walk in Novi, Michigan. So, Melody, tell us about your children's books.
So, I have three children's books that are out right now. I'm hoping to have another one before the festival,
Oh,
so I might have four there, which
oh,
will be
that'd be
good.
exciting.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm like at like the 1/3 of the way through it, so we'll see how that goes.
We have
But
time.
yeah. So yeah, I have three of them. And each one of them, the main character is named after one of my daughters so far. So I have Harmony's Hiccups, which
Oh, she's a hippo.
has the hiccups and just kind of goes through her day and trying to get rid of the hiccups. And then I have Tired Tabitha, which is about a tired little tiger who is maybe not making the best choices because she's tired, which I think I think we've all been there. Um,
Yes.
and then my third book so far is Pretty Penelope, about a little penguin who's a little bit vain and she likes her
Ah,
and until she cuts off her feathers, and
uh-oh.
you have to read it and find out how it goes.
So what is book number 4 about? Can you give us a sneak peek on that?
So book number 4 is called Roberto's Rumbles, and that character is actually named after my husband. And that is his stomach is rumbling. He's a little rhino, and he does not want to sit down and eat his food. So he's just running around all day with a grumbly tummy, and he just does not want to eat his food.
Aw. So you've got also about a dozen coloring books to go along with it, and you have some to show us?
I do. So most of my coloring books are a little more aimed at adults. Um,
Oh, I
so
like
this
that.
one, this is my butterfly pattern one.
Oh,
Has different patterns like within a butterfly. So my daughters color in this one. They love it. So this one can go for kids or adults. This is
mm-hmm.
also my favorite to give out to my friends' kids when we get invited to a birthday party. I'm like, your kid's getting a coloring book. So that's one of my
And I'm sure
smaller ones.
the parents already know that beforehand.
Some do, some don't. I don't think everyone knows all my weird things that I do. Um, and then on the like way opposite adult side, I have like
Ooh.
several mandala coloring books. This is my affirmation one.
Okay.
So this has an affirmation along with the mandala.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
But the other ones I have are square, which I didn't grab one of those, but the other ones I have
Okay.
are squares that just have the mandalas.
Mhm.
So with my adult coloring books, I like the really complex mandalas. So you
Mhm.
really take your time working your way through them. And then I go on the opposite side of like the really simple ones. And these are
Oh.
really relaxing because you can get through them pretty quickly.
Okay.
You get that sense of accomplishment that you're like, wow, I did that like really fast. And then my first coloring book that I ever did is also probably also works for adults and children, but it's also like on the simple side, and these are real cats.
Ah.
So these are all real photographs of cats. I know quite a few of the cats in the book. And then
Oh, nice.
but yeah, so I just digitally traced the photos
Okay.
of all the different cats. See if I can find. These are two of my.
Aw.
Yeah, these are two of my cats. Which this was also really sad when I worked my way through the book, because I worked my way through the book like 6 or 7 years after I'd published it. So
Mhm.
quite a few of the cats in here have passed away since then. And I'm
Oh.
coloring and like crying, I'm like, this cat's gone. But it is really
Oh.
fun to color. It is a lot of fun.
That is so awesome. I love it. Looking at your background here, so you're a wife and you've got three daughters as represented in the children's books. I think that is really cool. What else do you do in your off time when you're not writing or designing the coloring books?
So I don't have off time. So I own a website. It's
Mhm.
blinddatewithabook.org, which I will also be there selling those with my, so my husband will be doing those and he helps me with those. So we'll have another interview too that I'll be providing. So I spend a lot of time doing that. So that business like took off last year. So most of my time is dedicated to that.
Mhm.
If I'm not writing, doing coloring books, and then I'm also homeschooling my kids. So we squeeze
Ah, yes, homeschooling. So how old are your kids? What age ranges do you have?
So I have a 2 year old, a 5 year old, and a 7 year old.
Ooh, so two are actively in school, and then you've got the third one coming up. Ooh,
Yep.
you got your hands full
Yeah.
for a while there.
It's fun though. We have fun.
Awesome. So what do you guys like to do outside, or what do you have special activities that you do for homeschooling that would be out of the norm of, I guess, would be different from what they do inside the classroom setting in like public schools?
Not particularly. I mean, the main thing is they have a lot more freedom. So
Mhm.
I always tell them, they're like, I want to go to a real school. And I'm like, if you go to a real school, you're going to spend 8 hours a day working and about 30 minutes playing. When you're
Ooh,
here at home, you spend about 30 minutes working and like 8 hours playing.
yeah.
So they mostly get a lot of free time to play and explore creatively. So like my oldest, we're working through like teaching her how to read.
Mhm.
And she was struggling with the lesson. She would get upset about things. And then when we took a break from the reading lessons, she just starts picking up books around the house and starts reading them like it's nothing. So I was like, there's that freedom that she had to like, oh, I'm doing this on my own free will. And
Okay.
it just
Yep.
became more natural to her that she wasn't getting frustrated, that I was like, you got to do this. Like, she was like, I get to read. So there's like
Mhm.
that extra freedom that I have to be like, you know what? I think she needs a break from this. I don't
Mhm.
think I need to force her to learn to read this minute. Like, we
Mhm.
could give her a 2 week break from the reading lessons and then come back to them, and she just does way better that way. And
Hmm.
she's so creative. They both are. They were making robots today with empty ribbon spools and scrap paper. We're like, we're gonna fight with our robots. Like, okay.
Okay.
They're always doing something creative and fun. And so that's my favorite part, is just giving them that freedom to explore things creatively,
Mhm.
also having the freedom to do things like go to the zoo when the
Mhm.
weather gets nice. So we got them for Christmas. They got a membership to the Detroit Zoo,
Oh,
and then also to the
nice.
it's called the Outdoor Adventure Center, but it's indoors. Um, it's yeah. I dressed way too warmly the first time we went there because we went there in the winter. And then we got there, like, let's go to the bathroom and remove some layers because we're going to be way too warm in here. It's a blast. That's also down in Detroit. And so we go there quite often, but they got memberships to both of those places for Christmas.
Mhm.
So we've been going there quite a bit. And so we get to go again this week because the weather's super nice.
Awesome. It's always nice when you get those nice weather breaks in a normal winter month.
Mhm. Yeah.
Very nice. So what started you on writing the children's books? Aside from you named the characters after your daughters, which is awesome, and one coming for the husband. Can't leave him out. What started you on writing those books?
So I've always wanted to be an author. Like,
Mhm.
even I don't know where they are right now, but I had at some point some little piece from those, those little teeny tiny notebooks.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I have some pages, I believe, somewhere in my possession, of some pages that I had written when I was probably 7 or 8. And I vaguely remember writing them, and it was like this story of like, oh, I'm homeless. I need to go look through the garbage to find parts to build a bicycle. Like, I don't even know. And so even at that age, though, like I had that creative desire to write. And through like middle schools, like I decided I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be an author. And I had written um, a novel. So I have somewhere written a novel, but it's terrible first draft. So eventually it might be something. But
Okay.
I did write this like epic fantasy novel that was like
Ooh,
over 100,000 words.
nice.
So I had written that, um, but I don't like. I just wasn't. It just felt hard to write like a whole like full book. I have a lot of other books that I've started also that didn't go very far. But one day, when my middle daughter Harmony, when she was about 6 or 8 months old, she had the hiccups, and
Mm.
she's laying there in her little like baby bouncer just
Mhm.
hiccuping. So I started telling her, now my dad has always told us, if you get the hiccups, you need to rub your earlobe. And
Okay.
it's the weirdest thing to me. He swears by it. I have never had it work successfully. So I'm telling my little baby, I'm like, oh, you gotta rub your earlobe, like jokingly.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, you need to drink some water. Try saying the alphabet. And it was just really funny to me, telling this baby, like, obviously she's not going to do any
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking she's not gonna actually do that, but hey.
But it was just funny to me thinking about all the different ways that people think can cure the hiccups. And so I started thinking more and more about it. And I'm like, this should be a kid's book. Like, this would be really fun. And so I just sat down and I just wrote the whole thing. And at first I wasn't going to rhyme, but then it had to rhyme for some reason. So it rhymed. Because I grew up on Dr. Seuss. So
Well, yeah,
I
then it
don't
has to
read
rhyme.
children's books that doesn't rhyme. Like, it has to rhyme. So that's what it ended up being. And so you see all the characters. So then you see the grandpa hippo, and he's like,
Ah.
just rub your earlobe.
Ah.
That'll solve it. So that's my dad, the grandpa hippo. Rub your earlobe. So I just put in some of those kind of the funny ways, like that, at
Mhm.
least in my family, were kind of different ways, either serious or jokingly, that we would say to each other.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how that book came to be. Um, and then the other ones just kind of came after that. I just decided to do the whole alphabet. So I just started working my way through the alphabet.
Awesome. So you said that you've got the fantasy book that you wrote but
Yeah,
haven't done anything with. Um, I would say that would be a good one to pull out sometime, and obviously probably when your girls are older because you have a 2-year-old running around, but pull it out, give it a read, and m- you'll probably have to work through it because of how many years ago it was, but you never know. That may turn into something.
I
And
did. I did have some good. I had some friends that read it for
mhm.
me, and I did get good feedback on it. But then when I was reading again, I'm like, this is actually really terrible. The plot, I feel like the plot is solid, but like
Mhm.
there's a lot that just needs to be cleaned up. So I'm like, I know that there's something there, but
Mhm.
it's not there yet.
And then with the other ones where you started stories and didn't finish them, maybe they're meant to be short stories and you could put them into a book of short stories.
That could work. I tend to get too complicated. 'Cause I'll tend to start with something and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna write like a short story, just real quick.
Mhm.
And then I get into the characters and like, oh, but what happens next? And what happened before this? And then it just
Mm.
gets out of control.
So so for those, do you just write and pants it, or do you have like an outline that you're going through?
Oh, I don't outline. I don't.
I,
I think
I,
that's I
I,
think that's I think that's why the children's books started getting really appealing to me. Because I'm like,
mhm.
I can do this. I can write
Mhm.
the whole thing in one sitting and boom, it's done.
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
and then it takes like a few weeks of going back and tweaking it and getting feedback. Um, and then like the illustration process takes a lot longer than that. But just the writing part to get it done versus, a full novel, like the writing part takes a whole year basically, and then you have
Yeah.
to go back and do it again. So it's kind of like, I like that these are like a lot faster and I can get the whole
Mhm.
story out. And then because with these ones, I'm creating this whole world, so there's crossovers.
Okay.
Now I'm taking characters from this story, and now they're going to be over here in this story. And they maybe don't have lines in the other story, but like
Mhm.
you can see Harmony here,
Mhm.
and then you find you got Tabitha,
Mhm.
and then who are Pretty Penelope's friends at
Ah.
the beach, and you got
Yep.
Harmony and Tabitha there at the beach or at the pool with Penelope. So you
Very
have kind of
good.
those like crossovers
Mhm.
of the different characters, so it's kind of almost like writing a novel, but like in little tiny chunks. So you get to explore some of those other characters, but it's not a whole, 100,000 words. It's a couple hundred pictures, spread out. I mean, I guess by the time I've got all the books, the whole alphabet done, it'll be a few thousand words, but
True.
it's in little bite-sized chunks, and then there's like the sense of accomplishment.
Mhm.
I have finished this whole book.
So do you do your own illustrations then for the
Yeah.
children's books?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I have a kind of unique process, I think. I don't know of anyone else that does it this way. So my characters, I'll find this page of Penelope.
Mhm.
So my characters are, sorry, my camera's backwards, so I keep doing weird things. So I start the characters with paint. So I sit down with acrylic paint and I physically paint swatches of color.
Okay.
And then I take a picture of those swatches of color and I put it on my computer. And then I digitally trace the shapes for each of those body parts, basically. So the dress is one piece, an arm, another arm, each
Mhm.
piece. And then I digitally add the eyes and outlines. So the
Hmm.
characters start off with like an actual physical eye paint swatches of colors.
Mhm.
And then the entire background and any props or anything else is all done digitally.
Oh wow.
So like all the backgrounds are all digital. And then I usually do the backgrounds first.
Mhm.
And then I start creating the characters. And then that allows them to interact with that background and with their environment.
Interesting process. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that process yet.
Yeah, I don't know if other people do it, but I also grew up like, or I guess maybe in my early days, like Eric Carle was a
Mhm.
huge like motivation for me. That style, like the kind of collage.
Mhm.
And then more recently, like having my daughters, they were really into Pinkalicious. And Pinkalicious is kind of that style where they're kind of
Okay.
collage and they kind of like mixed media sort of on the paper.
Mhm.
So some pages have like drawings and like photographs like mixed together.
Hmm.
So I really liked that style. And that's kind of part of what inspired me to actually finish this, my fifth
Mhm.
children's book. Because I actually wrote it, I would have written it in 2020.
Okay.
And I didn't publish it until 3 years later in 2025.
Mm.
24, I think. So it took me a few years just like mulling it over and trying to think of like, I don't know how to like do the illustration parts. Like, do I have to
Mhm.
actually draw that many pictures of the same character? Like, I'm
Mhm.
artistically inclined, but I'm like, I don't know if I could, like, that just feels like a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and then like reading the Pinkalicious books, I'm like, that's the style I want. And then I had started doing different stuff on Canva.
Mhm.
I was like, I think I can use this to illustrate children's books. Like, I think
Mhm.
I can do that. Because I discovered it. I don't remember how I started using Canva initially, but a lot now. I
The
use it.
wonderful program.
It is. I use it for everything now, so I don't remember where I started. So that was kind of like where I got there. And then one day I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I don't know what I want to like do next with like my life or whatever. And she's like, you need to finish that book. She's like, you need to finish Harmony's Hiccups because she had read the words, and
Okay.
the words are like you need to finish it. You need to illustrate it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I did it.
Mom pressure.
She was like, that's what you need to do. I'm like, okay, mom, I'll do it. And I did it. And then I was like, okay, that was easier than I thought. It wasn't, I'm not going to say it was easy, but
Mhm.
it was easier than I thought it was going to be. And so I was like, I can do that again. And so I went on and did Tired Tabitha, which I had also written the words for very shortly after I had done Harmony's Hiccups.
Oh, okay.
At that time, I had a 2-year-old who would get tired and do all kinds of crazy things. So I was like, oh, kids go crazy when they're tired, which I knew, but at that point, I
Mhm.
was experiencing it. So that one, and then Pretty Penelope just kind of came out of just wanting to teach, especially my daughters, that their beauty comes from within. It doesn't matter if they chop off their hair or if they're whatever happens, like
Mhm.
their value and their beauty comes from who they are and
Yeah.
what they do and how they treat others.
So do you have like a list of names? And if so, do you have um exactly what your book titles are going to be, or what's that process?
So, shortly after I had written the first two and then
Mhm.
decided I need to do the whole alphabet, which interestingly, I loved the name Penelope. And so I had the name Penelope on there. I'm like, if I can't use it for one of my kids, I'm at least going to have a character named after it. And then we had a third daughter, and I'm like, Penelope, we're doing perfect.
Perfect.
So the character interest, like, it's just funny. Like, her character was named before she existed. The other two, the characters were named after my daughters, but this one, like, kind of reverse. But yeah, so shortly after I had written those first two books, decided to do the whole alphabet. I went on a mom blogger group that I was in at that
Ooh.
time, and I'm like,
Mhm.
give me some ideas. And so between them and my own ideas, I have a full list of all 26 letters, and I have an idea and a very short synopsis for each
Mhm.
one. Some of them I have names for, some of them I don't have names for yet. But yeah, I'm working my way through the list. But I'm going by family members first. I'm like, I need to do the books named after family members first.
Okay.
I don't know, just because it's easier to write the dedication. And it's easier to have like direction because there's so
Yeah.
many like to choose from. It's easier to be like, okay, this is my mom's book, so I'm just going to do that one next,
Mhm.
and then work my way through them.
So you've got 3 out of 26. So you've got a ways to go. You've got number 4 almost there,
Almost there.
getting there.
Hmm.
Um how long do you think it's going to take you to do all 26?
That's a good question. I don't know. I took a break for a while.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm focused and actually putting in the time, I can write and illustrate in like 2 to 3 months. So
Okay.
realistically, it shouldn't take that long,
Mhm.
but if I take long breaks again, then it might take.
Well, and realistically, you are homeschooling 2 plus a toddler. Yeah, you're gonna need breaks.
Yeah. Oh
Or
yeah,
is it the writing gets you a break from the girls?
it's a little of both. There's a
Hmm.
little bit.
Now you've got about a dozen coloring books out. Are you planning to expand that line?
Probably not anytime soon.
Okay.
Um, like I got into coloring books a lot because there's like the big movement of like low content books, and like you can
Mhm.
become a millionaire by just publishing on Amazon. And you're just like, you just make the book and then it just magically sells itself and you make thousands of
Oh.
dollars. And that has not been my experience.
I was just gonna say, how did that work? Because if it works, when we get off, I'm making a bunch of coloring books.
I mean, there's people that does work for. It has not
Right.
worked for me. So I'm like, I don't know if it's a me problem or if I'm not doing everything. I don't know. So I'm just kind of backed off on the coloring books because I'm like, and I don't have time. Like, I have too many things going on to market just the coloring books. If I were
Yeah.
only doing coloring books, I would have time to start a YouTube channel and
Right.
like record videos of me coloring them and talk about things and post on social media and all of that stuff. But I'm like, I don't have time for the marketing side of things. So that's like a huge part of it. And it's the same with the children's books. Like, I don't put a whole bunch of time into marketing them.
Mhm.
Um, so most of my sales have been family and friends, which
Mhm.
is great. Like, I let my family and friends know. I put it on Facebook. Hey, here's my new book. And I do get sales from that. And then I've started trying to do more of like the in person shows, and those tend to go pretty well too. But the coloring books don't sell as well there either. So I'm like, maybe,
Really?
like, it's, I don't know.
Hmm.
It wasn't as not, it has not been as lucrative as I was hoping. So I've just kind of taken a step back from that and just kind of actually somewhat recently stepped back into the children's books and refocusing on those because I do want to get them all out. And
Mhm.
the ultimate goal is to have a hardcover with all 26 stories in them.
Oh.
That's the ultimate
So
goal.
you'll have the individual paperbacks and then one hardcover that's got all of them. That would be really neat.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. And then at that point, ideally, I would have more time for marketing. And then I could talk to teachers because you know how many teachers like at the end of the year
Mhm.
they go through like the alphabet. They have like their alphabet days, the last
Mhm.
26 days of school. Like, this would be so perfect that they've got one story to read for
Yep.
every letter of the alphabet, and they kind of cross over, so it's kind of like a familiar thing.
Well, that would definitely work out well, and I can't wait to see how what the other letters are, and if you get the R ready for June, if it makes it to the table by the end of June. But I'm excited to meet you in person and see your books, and I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on the show tonight, and I will see you in June.
All right. See you there.